Good morning, everyone. I'm Olivia for Boca magazine, and thank you for joining us on another coffee break. We are joined by special guest Marius Ged, Managing Partner of GED Lawyers. It's so great to see you once again, Marty.
Good morning, Olivia. Thank you for having me, and glad to be here.
So, today we're going to be discussing business interruption insurance. Marty, what does a typical common business coverage look like?
Sure. So business interruption is coverage that's usually within one's property insurance coverage. So a lot of times, whether you're a commercial property owner or you're a business owner, you're required to buy commercial property coverage, which covers the dwelling, covers the contents, could cover the inventory, would also cover loss of use, some of those different categories. Within this type of insurance, there's also an extra added coverage called business interruption. And it's a specific endorsement. It's actually an add-on to your policy. It doesn't come with it. You have to ask for it, and it provides this type of coverage.
Okay, so that's interesting. So it's not really part of your common coverage. So that's definitely something that we all need to make note of, that it is something we have to ask for, which, I think a lot of business owners might not necessarily know, right, Marty? Is that something that you are finding as a common mistake, so to say?
There's some really good insurance agents out there, and there's some uninformed agents out there as well. So most businesses buy what's called the BOP, a business owner's policy. And that's like your general liability, and that covers you for slips and falls on your property, third-party lawsuits against you regarding outside vendors, outside people. However, this type of coverage is so niche-based that the person that's representing you, or your agent, hopefully, or your broker, has that level of experience to identify that you need this type of coverage, and obviously presents it to you to buy as part of your policy. A lot of different people have sent me. So we're doing reviews of policies for clients and customers to determine whether they have this coverage. I have seen multiple clients saying, hey, I got the coverage, I'm covered. And then they send me the policy, and it's what's called the general liability policy. Business interruption, in my experience, is never included in your general liability policy. And those people, unfortunately, have not had the opportunity to get compensated where they think they have the coverage and they really don't. I mean, Olivia, so many people say to me, I have full coverage, I got the best coverage, but they really don't know what they have. And what I do suggest to people during these times, especially now, is have a conversation with your agent. Go over your insurance portfolio, because it really is an asset to protect you. Understand what you have and identify the coverages that you don't have that you may not need, or you may need to protect your business and your potential income in the future.
All right. And, great tips. And, does business interruption coverage take into effect the COVID-19 pandemic and all these businesses that have had to close due to these crazy uncertain times?
So if you've been following the news, there are thousands of lawsuits across the country related to this issue. Plaintiffs have been filing all over the country to have a court determine how these policies apply specifically to a pandemic. So to give you a little bit of background, most commercial property insurance coverages cover you for fires, leaks, hurricane damage, those sorts of perils. Really, no one has anticipated what we call this pandemic. So kind of giving a little history, back in 2003, when the first time we had a pandemic was SARS, if you remember the SARS pandemic. And that's when the insurance company and their people, through what's called ISO, which is a vendor for the insurance companies, Insurance Services Organization. That is the group that writes policies to be uniform across the board. So this organization had come up with a exclusion relative to the virus. So certain policies include what's called a limited virus exclusion, or certain policies may have a direct virus exclusion. And those sorts of policies need to be examined much more particularly and extremely carefully to determine the language that's in them. So when that endorsement came around in 2003 and thereafter, the insurance company got smarter and amended their policy language to include virus specifically. And certain policies do have this exclusion and a lot don't. So it really is a case-by-case study. You have to look at the individual's insurance policy, and you got to look at all the different endorsements to see which coverage is applicable.
And also my understanding is that Congress is actually pushing to require insurers to make COVID-19 a qualified interrupting event, so to speak. Do you think that that will happen?
So there's so much litigation on this. Certain states like New York, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, actually have current bills pending in their legislature. I don't believe that a legislature can broadly rewrite an insurance policy because it would probably be unconstitutional. When a private party is contracting with another private party, that's a constitutional right. So it's the language within that policy that would have to be extended to the policyholder to afford coverage. I don't believe, and I could be wrong, this is just a personal opinion, not legal advice, that a court is going to come in and broad stroke a pandemic and say, hey, insurance company, you have to pay for this claim when you didn't even underwrite for it and you didn't collect a premium for it. So that in that circumstance, I don't think it's likely. However, I do think if you purchase the policy and you bargained for the benefit, meaning you paid a premium to have this type of coverage, the insurance company will step up and will have to pay these claims.
So there is hope for business owners, in this certain instance that they are able to be successful when filing against their insurance, correct? There is hope.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've reviewed hundreds, probably 500 policies so far since the pandemic because we're retaining these clients are retaining us, obviously, for this type of loss. And we've seen a majority of clients that don't have the virus exclusion. There are certain industries, there are certain clients that do have it, but for the most part, we're seeing a lot of clients, if they have the business interruption, they don't seem to have the particular virus endorsement. And again, it's a case-by-case analysis. You got to look at it. Interestingly enough, just kind of from what I've seen and our firm has seen, a lot of restaurants, for whatever reason, do have a virus exclusion on them. Not every restaurant. And my thought is because of the E. coli, the Ebola, restaurants are subject to different sanitary issues of food and cleanliness. So obviously, insurance company has more information on that, and they're able to they're able to underwrite that risk in a different manner. I represent a lot of medical offices, a lot of realtors, different general office, I'll call it general office businesses, where they don't have the exclusion. You would think a doctor's office would have the exclusion. 99% of the medical practices that we've seen a policy do not have that exclusion.
Right. And now if a business is able to operate remotely, would that consider as still business interruption?
Sure. So great question. And that's a kind of a evolving theory and a legal strategy as well. So within your business interruption, within your property coverage, there's also what's called civil authority. It's another insuring provision. And what civil authority is if a governmental entity such as a board of commissioners, a governor, a mayor, issue executive orders which prohibit you from going to work, in my opinion, that is a clear absence of work where the government is not allowing you to come to work and run your business, and therefore you should be compensated under the civil authority provision of your policy.
All right, great. So what is the time frame that a business owner has for filing a claim, and how specific are the procedures in doing so?
Sure. So again, this is what's called a breach of contract claim, and under Florida law, you have 5 years to bring that claim. However, I would not wait that long. The squeaky wheel always gets the oil, so to speak. So as soon as you recognize a loss of income, because that's what this is about, if your numbers are down and you're not sustaining the same level of revenue or income that you were a year before, I think you should make the claim immediately. Why would you wait? Put the carrier on notice, let them know what's going on, and then obviously go from there. But the carriers are going to request from you certain financial information, which is what's going to let you or allow you to prove your damages. This type of claim is purely based on the numbers. It's not for example, it's not like when there's a hurricane where the roof is damaged, you go get the price for the roof. This is based on your actual last year's income to see what you did in your financials as compared to this year, to see in the same period what your income looks like based on your performance.
All right, so 5 years, but definitely The quicker, the better.
Sure.
And, if a business interruption claim has been denied by the insurance company, is it over?
That's where it always starts, by the way, in our business. It starts with a no. Most insurance companies generally deny a claim for a myriad of different reasons, and they have their reasons to do so. And they know statistically there's a percentage of people that'll just fall off the wagon. That once they get that denial letter, they're going to close the file and they're going to not take any further action. My job and my passion is to educate people to have them understand that no is where it begins, because it's my job to read the policy, understand that policy, and be able to zealously advocate for that client to make sure that those rights are protected for them.
All right, well, this is great. And, I always like to end our conversation on a fun, lighter note. Marty, when you're not working, where will we most likely find you?
Probably fishing or hopefully on a boat. Those are my passions. That's what I like to do with my family, my friends, or just maybe quietly listening to an Audible book. I also enjoy Audible books.
That's really great. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Marty. I mean, this is so informative, and I know our viewers really appreciate your insight and your expertise on today's topic. And we are also going to be joined by you for several more Facebook Live chats every Thursday at 11 a.m. So thank you again, Marty, for joining us.
Thanks, Olivia, and thank you, Boca Mag. We appreciate it, and stay safe out there. And guys, get ready for school and make sure your kids are safe too.
Absolutely. To our viewers, everyone, stay well, stay healthy, and enjoy your cup of Joe. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.